Okay, good morning. Today we are continuing with solving those equations. Yesterday in PO39 we did adding and subtracting. Today in PO40 we are doing multiplication and division. So solving an equation with multiplication or division is similar to addition or subtraction. You're going to be doing the opposite operation. So if the equation is multiplying, you're going to divide. If it's dividing, you're going to multiply. When we were doing it with adding or subtracting, we wanted to zero out that number so the variable was by itself. When we're multiplying or dividing, we're going to be turning it into a 1. So 6n, 6 divided by 6 equals 1. What's 1 times a number? It's just the number, right? 1 times any number is going to be the number. So we don't have to put a 1 in front of the variable. But we know that when we see n, now we know that really there's a 1 in front of it. Because 1 times n is still going to be n. We just don't have to write it. Just like when we have 6n, we know that's multiplying, but there's no multiplication symbol. And it's okay because we just know that it means we're going to multiply. When the variable is by itself, when it's just n, we know that there's a 1 in front of it because 1 times any number is just going to be that number. So we're going to work on multiplying and dividing to equal that 1. So we have our same 3 types of ways to solve these equations. The first one is logic. 6n, 6 times what number equals 30? What would that be, Isabel?
5.
5. We know 6 times 5 equals 30. Are they all going to always be this easy? No. It does get more complicated, but we start with the easy ones that we can just logically use our mental math to decide. Then we have opposite operations. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is dividing by 6. Just like with the adding and subtracting, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So we have to divide both sides of the equal sign by 6. We'll get the variable by itself. So this is how that works. We have 6n equals 30. This is 6 times n. If we divide it by 6, remember that fraction bar means the same thing as dividing. So I do a fraction bar, you could do a division symbol. Either way, it's still dividing. 6 divided by 6 is 1. We don't have to write the 1 because 1 times n is n. So we get the n by itself. 30 divided by 6 equals 5. So it's very similar to what we did yesterday. You do the opposite operation. We know adding and subtracting go together. We know multiplying and dividing go together. So if our equation is multiplying, then we need to divide. So we have our fact families just like we did with the adding or subtracting. 6 times n equals 30, n times 6 equals 30. 30 divided by n equals 6. 30 divided by 6 equals n. Which one of those fact families is the most helpful?
30 divided by 6.
30 divided by 6 is the most helpful, right? So it's very similar to yesterday. So let's look at the bottom of the page and do those ones together. No matter which method you use, you can check your answer by plugging the value for the variable back into the original equation. If the equation is true, you're correct. We talked about that yesterday. Check your work, especially when we're working with negative numbers. When you come up with an answer, plug it back in, okay? So let's look at our first one. What would our sentence look like for 8n equals 56? What is our logic sentence? What would it be? James?
8n equals 36 and n would be 7.
So remember, for the logic, we have to come up with our sentence. So it would be 8 times
A number.
a number Oh, 6 times not 8. 6 times what number? 6 times what number equals, or sorry, 8. There's an 8 there. There was a 6 at the top. I was looking at too many places. So 8 times what number equals 56? And the answer is 7. Right? We know 8 times 7 equals 56. Then we want to show it with our opposite operations. So I'm going to write our equation over. If I have 8n, what is the opposite operation? Bennett?
I'm going to 56 divided by, wait, no, or no, 8 divided. Yeah, 8 divided by 8.
Yep.
And then 56 divided by 8.
I'm going to divide both sides by 8 because what I do to one side, I do to the other. I want to get my n by itself. I want that 1 in front. 1 times n. So 8 divided by 8 is n. 56 divided by 8 is 7.
Well, could it be different? Oh, never mind.
So it's just like yesterday with that adding and subtracting. You do it to both sides. 8 divided by 8 gets us n by itself. 56 divided by 8 gets us the 7. And then we have our fact families. So the fact family that would help us would be 56 divided by 8 equals n. And we know 56 divided by 8 is 7. Okay, so then let's look at our next one. N divided by 8 equals 4. What is my logic sentence? If it was multiplying, it was 8 times what number? Lucia, or Nora? Careful. What number divided by 8? And what number divided by 8 would equal 4? Gigi? What number divided by 8? Not 8 divided by 4. What number, if we were to divide it by 8, would equal 4? Jillian? 2. 4 divided by 8 does not equal 4. Ethan?
Oh.
So remember what I said, it's not always easy to do the logic. Okay? So that's why we want to look at that opposite operations. If we have n divided by 8 equals 4, if I'm dividing, what's the opposite of dividing? Multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. If I multiply by 8, I have 8n divided by 8. So my 8's cancel out. Right? 8n divided by 8. I'm taking an 8 out of both sides, so I'm left with just n. And then I see easily, 4 times 8 is 32. So doing that opposite operations definitely helps because it's very easy to look up here what number divided by 8 equals 4. Totally easy to think 8 divided by 4 equals 2. I see where we came from, but do you see where our logic went wrong? Doing the opposite operation shows us what we truly need to do to solve our problem. And then our fact family would be 32 divided by 8 equals what number? 32 divided by 8 is 4. Nope, I did that wrong. Not 32. We didn't know it was 32. So it would have been 4 times 8 equals what number? So looking at our last one, 7n equals 63. What is our logic sentence, Riziki? 7 times what number equals 63. So 7 times what number equals 63, Amelia? 9. It's a little bit easier because we know our multiplication. You don't get quite as confused as you do with the division ones. So let's look at how that looks with opposite operations. 7 times n equals 63. What is my opposite operation? Dividing. Because I have 7 times n, I want to divide by 7. So 7 divided by 7 is my 1, so I'm left with just n. 63 divided by 7 is 9. And then when I look at my fact family, it would be 63 divided by 7 equals n, and equals 9. Melina.
Are we able to use our calculators with this?
Yes. Yes. Because we are testing you on knowing the steps, not knowing your multiplication tables. So you should be able to use calculators on it. All right, let's look at our next page, your work page for today. So using your favorite method, solve it. Some, it's going to be easy to do the logic, but just like yesterday, when we got closer to the bottom, got a little bit harder. Opposite operations, you want to be understanding how to use those. And we saw the logic with the division wasn't quite so simple. So let's see. Let's do the first one. 5n equals 20. If I'm going to do that doing opposite operations, how would that look? James?
So you divide by 5.
Yeah, because it's 5 times n, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Then I want to check my work. So I'm going to say 5 times 4 equals 20. That is true. Yep, this is my answer. I'm going to circle my answer so I know which one it is. Let's look at the one below it. N over 6 equals 3. What is the opposite operation I want to do, Amelia?
Divide.
When we see n over 6, that fraction bar means divide. So what's the opposite? Yeah, I want to multiply. So I want to get that 6 out of there. So n is by itself. So I'm going to multiply by 6. So 6n divided by 6. My 6's cancel out, and I'm left with just my n. What I do to one side, I have to do to my other. So I know it's 3 times 6, which is 18. So now I'm going to plug that back into my problem. 18 divided by 6 equals 3. Is that true? Is 18 divided by 6 3? It is. So when I check my work, when I put my answer back in, it should be a true statement. Let's do one more that has a negative sign in it. So n over -5 equals 20. What is my opposite operation that I need to do? Ezekiel? Multiply by what? -5. If it's a negative down here, you need to multiply by -5. So -5 over -5 cancels out. And we're going to multiply by -5. Sometimes, like on the math test tomorrow, you might see parentheses around that because we don't want to make it look like it's multiply minus 5, right? So then put parentheses around it just so you know it's a negative number. What is 20 times -5? Gigi? -100. So if I put -100 into my equation, divided by -5, a negative divided by a negative turns positive. So you have to be very careful when you're working with those negative numbers. Remember our rules. If they are unequal signs, your answer is negative. If they are the same sign, your answer is positive. James?
So on a note card, can you put rules?
Yes, you can definitely put rules on your note card. Definitely. Any other questions about today's assignment? On the bottom, just like yesterday, we have to create our own equations. This time, we're using multiplying and dividing. And we need our variable to be 8. So it doesn't equal 8. Your variable is 8. So n is 8. Matthew? This one?
Yeah.
All right. Negative 9n equals 27. What operation are we doing in there? Yeah, we're originally multiplying, so our opposite would be divide. What am I going to divide by? Negative 9, because it's a negative 9 on top. So divide, not multiplying, dividing both sides by negative 9. Negative 9 cancel out. So what is 27 divided by negative 9? What's 27 divided by 9? 3. And so then, would it be positive or negative? Negative, because we have a positive and negative. They are unequal. So our answer is negative 3. So if I put that back into my equation, negative 9 times negative 3 equals 27. We know 9 times 3 is 27. Negative times a negative is a positive. So looking again back at the bottom, does anybody have an example for us? Amelia? Yes? You got one? 3n equals 24. If I put an 8 in there, 3 times 8 equals 24. So what would the opposite be?
N divided by 8. N divided by 24 equals 3. Never mind.
I know, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we could do 24 divided by n equals 3. Okay, so you'd want to do it that way. So you really want to think, what number are you dividing by the other number? So you could do 24 divided by n, you could do it like that, or you could do it like this. They both mean the same thing. And then you have to do another set of multiplying and dividing using 8 for your variable. All right, for my friends at home, we hope you are well. We hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.